So, February 2026, the world is just watching as a war explodes in the Middle East. It really felt like it came out of nowhere, right? But the shockwaves were felt everywhere, and they were felt instantly. What we're going to do here is break down exactly how this whole thing ignited, using those first critical reports coming from the ground. And get this, just hours into the fighting, the US president comes out with this. I mean, listen to that. There's no ambiguity, no fancy diplomatic speak. He's saying it plain as day. The goal right from the jump was regime change. That one statement, it pretty much sets the stage for everything that follows. But here's the thing, those strikes on February 28th, they weren't some random explosion. It was more like a tinderbox that had been sitting there for decades, just waiting for a match. The fuse had been burning for a long, long time, you know? Tensions kept ratcheting up and up until a conflict like this felt, well, almost inevitable. So how in the world do we get here? Let's rewind a bit. It really kicks into high gear back in 2018, when the US pulls out of that nuclear deal and slaps these crippling sanctions back on Iran. That, right there, sends their economy into a complete nosedive. Fast forward to late 2025, and public anger just boils over. We're talking massive protests, the biggest the country had seen since the '79 revolution. The regime's response? A violent crackdown. And while all that's happening, the US starts moving a whole lot of military hardware into the region. So by the time February 2026 rolls around, any last-ditch effort at diplomacy, it just completely falls apart. And you know, what's really wild about the final collapse of talks is this weird disconnect. You had Omani mediators on the ground saying, hey, we think a breakthrough is super close. But behind the scenes, the core disagreement was a total deal breaker. Washington was demanding a permanent end to all uranium enrichment. No ifs, ands, or buts. And Iran? They're digging in their heels, insisting it's their inalienable right. You've got two positions that simply cannot be reconciled. And that became the final trigger. And that was it. February 28th, 2026. You could say that's the day diplomacy officially died. Because before the sun even came up, the skies over Iran were lit up by a coordinated attack from the United States and Israel. The war was on. This joint operation even had two pretty intense code names. The US called it Operation Epic Fury, while Israel went with Roaring Lion. And the goals were crystal clear. 1, dismantle Iran's entire military. 2, shut down its nuclear program for good. And 3, just like that quote we saw at the beginning made so plain, bring about regime change. Now, this was not just about hitting a few military sites. No, this was a full-on decapitation strike. The very first wave of attacks was designed to take out Iran's entire senior command structure, all at once. The goal was to create an immediate, catastrophic power vacuum. And they succeeded. Among the dead was the man who'd been in power for over 30 years, the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. The sheer scale of this assault is just mind-boggling. Think about this. In just the first few hours, Israel alone hit 500 military targets. They used a fleet of over 200 fighter jets to do it. And that was just one piece of the puzzle. At the same time, you had US Tomahawk missiles flying in, B-2 stealth bombers overhead, and a massive coordinated cyber attack that basically wiped Iran off the internet. A near total blackout, which just crippled their ability to even figure out what was happening, let alone respond. But Iran did respond, and they responded fast and hard. They called their counterattack Operation True Promise 4. And it wasn't just aimed at the US and Israel. Oh no. It was designed to pull the entire Persian Gulf region right into the middle of this war. So, right away, the battle lines are drawn. It's pretty clear. You've got the US and Israel on one side. On the other, you've got Iran and its whole network of allies, what they call the Axis of Resistance. But look closely at that list under defensive action. See Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE. These are all countries with huge American military bases. They weren't going to be bystanders in this fight. They instantly became direct targets. And Iran's retaliation was, just like I said, immediate and all over the place. Suddenly, missiles and drones are hitting US assets all across the Gulf. We're talking the 5th Fleet's headquarters in Bahrain, major air bases in Qatar and the UAE. Even civilian airports and a British base way out in Cyprus got hit. The message couldn't have been clearer. Nobody in the region is safe. Nowhere is off limits. But as devastating as those missile strikes were, Iran's most powerful weapon wasn't a missile or a drone. It was economic. With the whole region spinning into chaos, Tehran decided to go for the jugular of the entire global economy. I'm talking, of course, about the Strait of Hormuz. You've probably heard of it. It's this tiny little sliver of water. At its narrowest point, it's only about 20 miles wide, but it's the only way out of the Persian Gulf for all that oil. It is, and this is no exaggeration, the single most important oil choke point on the entire planet. So why is it so critical? Well, it all comes down to one number: 20%. That's right. Roughly a fifth of the whole world's daily oil supply has to pass through that one tiny channel. So when Iran made the move to shut it down, they basically put the global economy on life support, just like that. Look, Iran knew it couldn't go toe-to-toe with the US and Israeli militaries, so they chose a different battlefield: the global economy. It was a strategic move. As analysts from Flashpoint put it, the whole point was to inflict maximum global economic pain. It was their way of fighting back, of putting counter-pressure on for the military losses they were taking. And this wasn't some abstract, theoretical problem. The impact was instantaneous. The second that strait closed, it sent this devastating shockwave rippling through the world's financial markets and all of our supply chains. I mean, almost overnight, the price of Brent crude oil, which is the benchmark for the whole world, shot up by more than $10 a barrel. Poof! It was like an instant tax on the entire global economy, and this is just a few days into the conflict. And yeah, this went way beyond just the price you pay at the pump. It was a cascade effect, a domino rally. First, the major shipping companies just stop. All traffic suspended. Then, all the regional airspace gets closed down. Then, the big maritime insurance companies. They cancel all war risk coverage for the Gulf. So even if you wanted to risk it, you couldn't get insured. And of course, what happens next? Global stock markets start to tank because everyone is terrified of a long, messy, drawn-out war. Which, brings us right back to this huge, critical question. In just a matter of days, this conflict created a situation that is just terrifyingly unstable. You have Iran's government completely decapitated, the entire Middle East is now a war zone, and the global economy is teetering on the absolute brink. There are no clear leaders left in Tehran, there are no easy off-ramps to de-escalate, and the whole world is just holding its breath, waiting to see what in the world happens next.